Okay, good morning, everyone. I'd like to call the September 27th Finance Committee meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Member Chaplin.
Here.
Member Colbert, Member Desart, Member DeCiani, Member Eckhoff, Member Garcia. Here. Member Hart, Member Krajewski, Member LaPlante, Member Ozog, Member Phillips, Member Pachalski, Member Renahan, Member Rutledge. Here. Member Schwarzy, Member Selman, Member Tornatori, and Member Zay.
Great, thank you. We do have a quorum, and I am advised that we do have public comment this morning, so I will. This morning we have Randy Ramey with Wayne Township. So come on up, welcome.
Morning, Madam Chair, ladies and gentlemen of the committee. I know we will be speaking later in the committee hearing, but I just wanted to get up and thank you all for helping townships be a part of ARPA funds. I am the supervisor of Wayne Township and president of the township officials of DuPage County. I know we had a lot of discussion on this, and every township received funds through the ARPA funds, thanks to you in voting to include us and to support us for all our projects. And I certainly want to thank you for those votes of support, and to the staff to make sure that we were doing everything correctly and making sure that we were getting what we were needing. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you. And I am advised we have one electronic comment this morning.
Yes, subject Jean Kazmarek. Jean has shown strong leadership in her duties as county clerk. She demonstrates honesty and transparency and the ability to withstand brutal resistance with grace and transparency at all times. She was instrumental in leading our county in replacing new, auditable, and accurate elections equipment. She educates and rallies in causes to improve our county in projects that make a difference for all DuPage County residents of all political stripes. She protects and supports her staff and owns all decisions made in her role as county clerk. I believe she is always driven by higher ideals and heartfelt goals. She has regularly responded to phone calls and a personal commitment to listening to DuPage County residents. Please support such a leader, Margaret Brownlee.
Great, thank you so much. I have no remarks this morning. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes of the September 13th Finance Committee meeting? We have a motion by Member Krajewski, second by Member Garcia. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to item number 6, budget transfers. Can I have a motion on FIR 039322, budget transfers from 9/27/22 from various companies and accounting units? I'm sorry, who made that motion? Member Krajewski's, second by Member Rutledge. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to procurement requisitions. Can Member Krajewski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can I move to combine items 1, 2, 3 under the finance agenda?
We have a motion by Member Krajewski and a second by Member Selman to combine. Oh, Member Pachalski. Wait, who moved? I'm sorry, I'm having trouble hearing this morning. So who made the second? Okay. Motion by Member Krajewski, second by Member Selman. Any discussion? Okay, Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to approve consent item decrease and closeout PO 5230 issued to Physicians Immediate Care. Consent item the decrease and a closeout of PO 2219 issued to Rock Busco Connolly LLC. And the last one is a consent item the decrease and closeout PO 3141 issued to Rock Busco and Connolly LLC.
I thought we did. Yeah, we did.
Do we have a vote?
Do we have a vote to combine? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, that's okay. Okay, so we have a motion by Member
Good
Krajewski,
morning, Connor.
second by Member Zay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to animal services. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move for a change order recommendation from amendment to purchase order 5450 for a contract issued to IDEX for SNAP tests and laboratory services.
Motion by Member Krajewski, second by Member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna move here in a minute to add another $4.5 million to the budget for this coming year, since the animal services is not gonna need the loan that the board was kind to approve. So I'm gonna move to FIR 0385, which is a resolution to rescind resolution FIR 0199, which is an interfund loan from the general fund to animal services.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? Member Garcia.
I just think this is fantastic. And I just wanted to just say that, thank you to the anonymous donors, which will be on the next item, but it's been fantastic for the animal services and much needed and much appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Unless I move on FIR 0377, resolution for additional appropriation for the DuPage Animal Friends Phase 2 Capital Project Grant for $4,500,000.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Zay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Krajewski. We move on to development. Member Tornatori is not in, so we have Vice Chair Garcia.
Thank you, Chair. I move on DCR 038822, resolution revision to personnel headcount for building and zoning department for FY22, company 1100, accounting unit 2810.
I have a motion by member Garcia, second by member Rutledge. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Garcia. We move on to economic development. Member Selman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on EDP 271-22, approval for a contract purchase order to World Relief Corp for youth training programs for a period of October 1st, 2022 through October 30th, 2023 for a not to exceed of $190,652.
Motion by member Selman, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Selman.
Thank you. I move on EDP 272-22, an approval for a contract purchase order to Parents Alliance Employment Project for youth training program for out-of-school youth. This covers October 1st, 2022 through October 30th, 2023 for a not to exceed $242,643.
Motion by member Selman, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Selman.
Lastly, I move on EDP 273-22, approval for a contract purchase order to Parents Alliance Employment Project for youth training program for in-school youth. It's October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023 for a not to exceed $123,925.
Motion by member Selman, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Selman. We move on to Health and Human Services. Member Renahan.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move approval of HHSP 26122, recommendation for approval of contract to Healthy Air Heating and Air to provide architectural weatherization, labor and materials for community services weatherization program FY23, October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023, not to exceed $485,534.70. Second.
Have a motion by member Renahan, a second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Renahan.
I move approval of HHSP 26222, recommendation for approval of contract to Healthy Air Heating and Air to provide mechanical weatherization, labor and materials for community services FY23 weatherization program, October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2023, not to exceed $1,140,734.82.
Have a motion by member Renahan, a second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Member Renahan.
I move approval of HHSP 26322, recommendation for approval of a contract purchase order to Northwestern Medicine Regional Medical Group for the services of Angelo Miele, MD, Medical Director of the DuPage Care Center, December 1st, 2022 through November 30th, 2023, not to exceed $36,000.
Motion by member Renahan, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you. Member Renahan, we move on to judicial and public safety. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. I move approval of an amendment, JPSR 35722A, amendment to resolution JPSR 35722, approving the sheriff's office of execution of an IGA with the ETSB for the replacement radios. This is essentially a name scrivener's error.
Motion by member Renahan, second by member Salmon. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Renahan.
I move approval of JPSP 26422, recommendation for approval of contract purchase order to Raillex Conveyor Corporation for purchase of a clothing conveyor and installation for the sheriff. September 27, 2022 through September 26, 2023, not to exceed $72,042.83.
Motion by member Renahan, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Renahan.
I move approval of JPSP 26522, recommendation for approval of contract purchase order to Atlantic Diving Supply for purchase of an X-ray machine and battery charger for the sheriff's office, not to exceed $42,362.11. Yes.
Motion by member Renahan, second by member Salmon. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Renahan. We move on to item G, member of Public Works, member Ozak.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I move for approval of FMP 026822. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Kubler Incorporated to provide professional architectural and engineering design services for the care center facility, HVAC replacement, JTK administration building, HVAC replacement, and various projects on county campus for facilities management for the period September 28th, 2022 through November 30th, 2024, for a total contract amount not to exceed $457,045. Professional services vetted through a qualified based selection process in compliance with Illinois Local Government Professional Services Selection Act.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Renahan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Ozak.
Thank you. I move for approval of FMP 026922. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Lamp Incorporated to provide professional construction manager as advisor services for the JTK administration building, HVAC replacement, care center HVAC replacement, and pre-construction services, door 10 exterior replacement at the JTK administration building, JTK front entrance security improvements, and the JTK third floor community services intake project for facilities management for the period September 28, 2022 through December 31st, 2026, for a total contract amount not to exceed $4,865,131. Professional services vetted through a qualification-based selection process in compliance with the Illinois Local Government Professional Services Selection Act, partial ARPA item.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Ozak.
Thank you. I move for approval of FMP 027022. Recommendation for the approval of a contract to Brightly Software Incorporated for Maintenance Edge Help Desk, formerly Facility Dude, and Authenticate software licensing for facilities and Connect Authenticate software licensing for facilities management for the 3-year period, October 1st, 2022 through September 30th, 2025, for a total contract amount not to exceed $74,340.34.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Ozak.
Thank you. Next, I move for approval of PWO 004822 ordinance, an amendment to the water wastewater use ordinance adjusting water and sewer rates.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Ozak.
Thank you. I move for approval of PWP 026722. Recommendation for the approval of an agreement between the County of DuPage, Illinois and Ciobra Group Incorporated for on-call professional engineering services for water distribution and sewer collection systems for various regions around DuPage County on an as-needed basis from September 27, 2022 through December 31st, 2025 for a total amount not to exceed $95,000. Professional services vetted through qualification-based selection process.
Motion by member Ozak, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Ozak. We
Thank
move
you.
on to item H, transportation. Member Pachowski.
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'd move to approve DTP 0266-22. Recommendation for approval contract to Bunnell Inc. to furnish and deliver curb shoes and plow blades as needed for a contract not to exceed $400,000.
I have a motion by member Pachowski, a second by member Zay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, the motion carries. Member
Thank you,
Pachowski.
Madam Chair. Move to approve DTR 382 22, recommendation approval of an awarding resolution to RW Dutton Company for Milton Township Lambert Road Project for an estimated township cost $462,488.68.
Motion by member Pachowski, second by member Ozag. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member
Thank you, Madam
Pachowski.
Chair. Move to approve DTR 383 22, a license agreement between County DuPage and Forest Preserve District of DuPage County for temporary access within Timber Ridge Forest Preserve County cost $1,500.
Motion by member Pachowski, second by member Rutledge. Any discussion? Member Krajewski, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I raised this in transportation. I can't believe the Forest Preserve is charging us $1,500 just for temporary to walk onto their Timber Ridge Forest Preserve. This county provides so much advice and work time to the Forest Preserve that we don't charge. And like we just had one in my district when the bridge was washed out in Waterfall Glen. They have to go to the Army Corps and get everything approved. And Sarah has been helping tremendously guide them through the process. We don't send them a bill for that. I just have a hard time that they're charging us $1,500 for temporary access to the property when we do an awful lot for the Forest Preserve and we don't send them a bill. And maybe we should start thinking about it if they're going to do that.
Thank you, member Krajewski. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion carries. Thank you, member Pachowski. We move on to finance resolutions. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIO 0055-22, a amendment to the county recording fee schedule for fees charged to federal and local agencies.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Zay. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0378-22, resolution acceptance and appropriation of the donated funds initiative program, $103,119.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0379-22, which is a resolution acceptance appropriation of the aging case coordination in the amount of $6,300,000.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0386-22, which is a resolution approval of issuance of payments by DuPage County to training providers and youth contracts for $2,200,150.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0387-22, which is a resolution acceptance and appropriation of the Illinois Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act for $4,897,690.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Garcia. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0389-22, which is resolution authorization of memorandum of understanding with the International Union of Operator Engineers Local 150.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Pachowski. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0390-22, resolution and renewal of our group insurance programs.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Rutledge. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move on FIR 0392-22, resolution approving $211,850 contribution for the fiscal year 2022 to the Metropolitan Emergency Response Investigation.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Zay. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. Member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Last, I move on FIR 0394-22, resolution approval of an amendment to resolution FIR 0341-22 for changes to the intergovernmental agreement with the sanitary districts for the use of our ARPA funds.
Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Uckoff. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion carries. We move on to informational, and I'll ask member Krajewski.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I move to receive and place on file informational items: A, payment of claims; B, wire transfers; and C, grant proposal notifications.
We have a motion to receive and place on file items A, B, and C. Motion by member Krajewski, second by member Zay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? The motion carries. Thank you, member Krajewski. We move on to item 10. We have our discussion of the ARPA funding for Wayne Township outdoor safety area. And who's going to come up and speak on that? Mary Catherine? Morning, Mary Catherine.
I'm going to just make a few really brief comments about this item this morning. I know we talked about this at the prior board meeting. Reminder, we as a staff, we're here to review the projects and to help you as the board members make decisions about it. So we try to never lose sight of our role in this process. To that end, I want to make just a few comments about the LARPA program in general and this project in particular. Wayne has requested $210,000 for an outdoor safety project for youth and seniors. It's a capital project. LARPA's county, the county's LARPA project funds, it funds capital projects, but the projects have to have a COVID nexus, meaning a COVID connection. All of Wayne's submittal information is in your packet, so you know everything about the project that we know about the project. Project includes $72,000 for 3 gazebos, $55,000 for a parking lot expansion, and $5,500 for a Gaga pit, which Katrina and I were talking about earlier in the week. I consider Gaga ball to be a close range dodgeball, but I have been assured by many an 8-year-old that it's actually a game of skill and finesse. So throughout the project, the materials, the packet references the Wayne Township Recreation Project. And the last thing that I think I noted at the prior meeting was that we had a similar project for $50,000 for Bloomingdale Park District, and we had rejected it during that round because we felt that it didn't have a COVID nexus, a COVID connection. So those are my comments. I just try to summarize what we talked about before. I don't know if anybody had any further questions for me.
Do we have any questions? No, member Selman.
So what is needed of us? Or
I'm going to look for direction,
Okay.
whether we want to give our staff the go ahead to continue on with this project, or if we don't feel it's going to move forward, to have them stop working on it.
Can I ask just another
Yep,
question?
go ahead. Yep.
For the Bloomingdale project, can you clarify, was that ARPA dollars or CARES dollars?
It was ARPA.
Okay, and our reason for, can you remind me why we rejected that?
It was a project that was basically a parks project. It was similar to this one. It had trails, it had gazebos, and the Bloomingdale project's rationale was that, hey, you know, we want to do more things outside, and people are using their parks. And so we want to spend more money on parks as a result of this.
That's probably the same logic here, and then it's just up to us to whether or not that meets like our, yeah, okay, thank you.
Member Zay.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we're going to let the supervisor speak a little
yes.
more on this. But I mean, the difference between Bloomingdale Park District and Wayne Township, they have a senior program. This is going to be exclusively for seniors in their Waze program, which they use for youth there. So, I mean, I understand, but I mean, it's not specifically, the Park District's using it in more of a broader recreation. This is more for a senior program that's well used in Wayne Township, and a Waze program between Winfield and Wayne Township that this is benefiting. So, and we talked about a little bit about the asphalt to 55,000. Well, that's because of expansion they've made because of COVID and social distancing. They've actually lost parking spots, and now they're under the minimum requirement for the Village of Carroll Stream that they need. So I think that's what they're addressing at this point. But I think the supervisor can explain a lot more.
Yeah, and thank you for bringing that up. A suggestion might be to pull out the 55,000 for the parking lot if we were to move forward with this, because that really is tough to prove for COVID. But we can discuss that. But I have member Schwarzy and then member Zay. So go ahead, member Schwarzy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm going to echo Member Zay's comments, especially when it comes to seniors. Wayne Township has a senior population in the high hundreds, you know, 400, 500, 600 seniors that go there on a regular basis. Whereas, in no disrespect to park districts, because we all love park districts, but this is a place that, seniors don't have the options of going many different places, certainly. And so this is a really, really valuable thing for them, and I would support it. So.
Thank you. Member Krajewski?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I mean, when you say you're gonna carve out the 55,000, I thought you were gonna carve it out because you say that was the ARPA qualified. But the asphalt parking lot, I mean, one, they have, and part of what we approved before was the expansion of their food pantry. But that parking lot is jam packed with all the people coming. So, I mean, the parking lot will service, it's going to defer to the supervisor here, but that parking lot's entirely full right now when they have people coming to pick up food from that center. So the expansion of parking lot would qualify under that. And I think every specific one is facts and circumstances, one versus another. You have to look specifically. And I think we need to look at like how we qualify. I mean, I remember going back to the CARES money when we told we couldn't hold a recycling event. Naperville was shut down, except for the fact that they were at capacity, and we figured a way to do that. Here, I think, the part this is a little different. You might do trails and stuff, but these are senior programs that would normally could be done inside. And so they're doing it outside for social distancing purposes, which is different than trails, which you can do trails outside all the time. This was taking something that may take place inside. And I just remember Forgy's talk about big senior population. This is just not put them all in a building, but put them outside. So I think it qualifies, but I guess we can defer more to the supervisor.
Yes, thank you. I'll let Member Rutledge go, and then we'll have Randy Ramey speak. Okay, thank you. Yeah. Go ahead.
Thanks, Chair Chaplin. I agree that if they had if they expanded the food pantry, which changed the requirements of their parking, I think that the parking would probably qualify under this, and the extensive senior services that they provide, I would be in favor of this.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board or the committee. I think you all explained it very well, but let me highlight a few things here. Yes, with our previous request, there has been expansions and an addition to a building in the parking lot, which is taking up 10 spaces. The Village of Carroll Stream has a minimum requirement for parking. We've had discussions with them to start the projects, and they asked, about this extra parking, and so well, it's part of this other request, and they approved that we should add 12 more spaces, which is what the request is for. We do have 800 seniors as members of our senior center, and during the past couple of years, obviously with COVID, there's been a lot of restrictions. They are requesting for more activities outside, which is what this project is designating for them to get out, to be separated and be safer. We have started this project really when I first was elected. The property was overgrown. And so I had a vision of how we can use this property. It is taxpayer dollars. So we want everybody in our community to be able to use it. So the seniors gave us direction on what they were looking for. We cleaned up the property. We also received a $100,000 grant from Senator Ellman to begin the project. And that's what you see now is the walking path, the pads for the gazebos, and cleanup of the property. And so the next steps was, what are we going to be using it for? And we got the direction from our seniors for outside programs, so they weren't cooped up inside, and be able to get out and be separate, due to the COVID issue. We also have the Waze program, which is a intergovernmental agreement with Winfield Township. It's called the Wayne Winfield Area Youth and Family Services Program, where we have almost 100 at-risk children that come during the summer, and their programs are on the east side of our building, which we've cleaned up, which is a part of this build out. So, I hope that answers your questions and puts you in favor of approving this program to move forward. But I'll certainly answer any other.
Yes, great. Thank you so much for your comments, and really thank you for the great work you're doing for your senior citizens. It's really remarkable. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions from the committee? Member Renahan.
Yeah, my question was for Mary Catherine. Was all this information provided to you in terms of the senior center and the food pantry access, that kind of thing?
Yes,
You had-
we had everything.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because I do thank you for all the hard work you all do in finance to vet these out.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and regarding the parking lot, there is, from my discussions with finance staff, there is a concern that the parking lot does not qualify for ARPA funds. So that's the only caution I would use right now. I'm being advised, at least from finance, that the parking lot may not be ARPA eligible. So if we go ahead with the project, that I don't know if that section, do you want to touch on that a little bit, Mary Catherine?
Sure. We looked at different parts of this project and we think that one is particularly problematic. But like I said at the beginning of my comments, this is the board's decision and we defer to you. And your rationale is important. I know Member Krajewski, his explanation, that's an important part of how we craft any project. So it's they're gray areas. We make decisions about our priorities. This would be our lowest level project. I know Wayne had 16 other projects that we thought were great projects and $1 million in funding that we gave to them. So their staff does a great job. This is one more that in the long list of all the ones that we looked at, we thought was the lowest. So again, a gray area for us, some problems with it, but we obviously defer to the will of the board on how you want to approach it.
Okay, so thank you. So I have Member Ozog, Member Krajewski, Member Pachowski. Member Ozog, go ahead, please.
And my question's for Mary Catherine as well. So discussions like Member Krajewski's remarks about the expansion, food pantry, COVID-related increased use, would that be included in your narrative as it's submitted? How exactly does that work?
Yes, we, after things are voted on by the board, we always put together a packet for what goes to the federal government. Okay. And we have, I think I mentioned at one of the prior meetings, we have rather extensive reporting that goes to the federal government. And so we would obviously echo the definition and the description and the rationale for this project in our 150-page narrative that goes to them as we justify this project.
And if I can kind of pin you down a little bit more, I'm not hearing no way. Yes. I'm hearing you're gray, or if our rationale is submitted, it's definitely not out of the question that yes, this would be approved. So, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Member Ozog. Member Krajewski.
Yeah, thank you. So I mean, I understand it's a concern, but what's the reason? I didn't hear that. I just heard it's a gray area. We have concern about parking, but what's the reason that we think it doesn't qualify?
A parking lot expansion in itself isn't necessarily related to COVID, in our opinion. This project as a whole, this project we envision as improvements to the senior center that are not related to COVID, I guess. There's not a clear connection to us.
Except for the food pantry expansion is put on 10 parking spots that now disappeared. And so they're adding the parking as a result of an expansion of a food pantry. I understand if I went and built a parking lot down the street, it doesn't qualify, but the reason this parking lot is being expanded is because we lost 10 spots because we just expanded a food pantry, which clearly is ARPA eligible. And in addition to, there's not enough spaces there for the people to come and use it. I think that's two different things, this versus just a parking lot in general, which doesn't qualify. I don't know. Okay. I'm supporting the parking lot.
Thank you, Member Krajewski. Member Pachowski.
I have the same thoughts about this is Member Krajewski. If we're getting ARPA funds for a food pantry and we're getting our ARPA funds for seniors, it only goes to think that we're going to need more parking for that. It seems to me one goes with the other. You can't expand use for seniors. You can't expand use for a food pantry that's necessary in ARPA funds. And related to that would be the parking to meet the people, especially seniors. So I think senior parking would be very critical. And I would think if it's gray area, you make a strong argument that it should be included. And I would support it with the parking.
Thank you, Member Pachowski. Member Renahan.
Well, that's why I asked the question in the first place, whether finance, if you had this type of information tying it together. I mean, can we possibly amend the request to make sure that that's included? Because it does seem like one thing begets the other, just for clarity.
Yeah. Oh, it is in the parking lot is in the request.
I understand that, but the rationale for the food
Oh.
pantry and why we might need to expand that just to give the breadcrumbs to provide. for-
Yes, and I would say that, we did fund some other projects that were food pantry, that were related. And so the packaging of these projects is maybe part of what's an issue. But again, this conversation is important. And that's why we have conversations like this, so that we recraft it around what we think is the best explanation and the one that's, going to be most viable with federal government.
Thank you, Member Renahan. Member Garcia?
Yeah, I would agree with the correlation that everyone's bringing that with the food pantry, and this, I do think that needs to be added, so I want to thank you. My only concern with this is a dodgeball for the seniors. Is that
No.
what we're talking about?
That's for the little kids.
Well, they're pretty active, but that was part of, and in fact, I'm surprised it was still in the request. It's part of the Waze program for the at-risk youth that do the summer camp on the east side of our building.
Okay, thank you. I was just making me a little worried with the liability on that one.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay, any members say?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, we appreciate the role finance does and obviously bringing us forward. We want them being conservative when they come to it, but ultimately it's our decision as policymakers. And I think enough discussion, one, the food pantry expansion is one project and it kind of correlates with this project. So it kind of, I can understand why finance, is hesitant, but they both are the same project at the same basically location. So, I mean, we need that. And I know Don has said he's going to sign up for the dodgeball next dodgeball.
Maybe we could have a county board team. I don't know, right?
With a medicine ball.
Well, that would be fun. Maybe a dodgeball game before November. That would get a lot of aggression out.
Fun, that might be fun. Thank you, members. Member Ozag.
I have a more general question for Mary Catherine. How are we doing in terms of rejection from the federal government? Is there any kind of particular request that's a problem, or how are we doing?
We haven't been audited yet. So that's the
Okay.
day the moment of truth comes, and it will be after we finish the program, probably a couple of years after. We actually, Katrina and I were talking this week, we got a note from Treasury about how they'd had cuts in staff. And so we're a little unclear about how things are going to play out for us. We definitely don't want to be in the position down the road where we have to repay these dollars. And so that's why we try to take a conservative position on it. But, I have talked to we do phone calls with GFOA on a regular basis, and some of the other folks that have been audited by the US Treasury, the OIG there, said it was the most difficult audit that they'd ever experienced. So, we get audited very regularly, internal auditors, external auditors, and, folks at the state too. So, we're pretty good at navigating that process, but apparently the federal audit piece can be very challenging. So we want to make sure that we have all of our ducks in a row and that we don't put the county at risk 2 or 3 years from now. So.
And you have no idea when that may happen. So you're operating a little bit in the dark.
In the dark, yes, because
Okay.
we're just closing CARES Act this week, finally. So I think we'll have a lot better idea when they come out and have a look at what we did for the CRF.
Okay.
Which hopefully is not going to be that should be in relatively, maybe in the next year or two.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Thank you.
thank you, Member Ozag. Member Selman?
I have a question about the interest that we have gained from the ARPA funds. Do you have like a guesstimate in your mind of how much interest we've accrued on the ARPA funds so far? Yes, the treasurer did some estimates of it. We felt relatively high, but the treasurer said in the environment that we're in right now, their outside experts had estimated $5 million. We think that's going to be lower. That's partly because when you do the cash flow, right now we still have a little bit of money. You can see from the report that's on your that we left on your table that, some of it still hasn't been allocated. So some of the things right now that we have in the out years are going to move forward to closer to the in years. So we think that estimate may be a little aggressive. So we definitely in our own numbers took a more conservative approach, but I would say for sure, if this interest rate environment stands that at over $4 million, we're
Could
looking
we
at for sure.
spend that yet?
Yeah,
Because I'm wondering if we could do the 55,000 for the parking lot out of the interest, because there's less rules on how we spend the interest. Is that correct?
Yeah, yes, we'd have to earn it.
Oh, it's just not accrued yet. I see. Okay.
We will have interest earnings enough to cover that amounts in this year, though.
So maybe that's an option because I think we all agree we want to do the parking lot. We just don't want to provide an audit to this board in 4 or 5 years. That could be a problem. So if we could use the interest dollars for the parking lot and then the base ARPA dollars for the rest of the project, I think that gets them funded, but also makes us kind of comfortable.
Yes, it is. It is actually an approach that we had discussed internally. So.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Member Krajewski.
I assume that we have the intergovernmental agreements are gonna state if any of these things come in, the Department of Treasury comes in and audits and says it doesn't qualify.
Yes.
I assume our intergovernmental agreement with the various entities, whether it's park districts or townships, requires them to pay us back.
Yes.
Indemnify us.
Connor helped us to craft what we call the clawback
Thank you,
terms.
Connor.
So
So I mean, we do have protections and
Yes.
especially when it's another government entity, I guess it's a private, not or something, I mean, that has the funding to give it back, but I mean, we do have that clawback provision. I mean, they're the ones that are ultimately saying it qualifies when they submit it. They believe it does. We have the intergovernmental that says they have to pay it back. So I'm not sure that the county's at that much risk for it. Like your new format down at the bottom where you got the other, we said estimated interest income is not reflected. Maybe what we do is we put on the report, if this is how it's going to go forward, what we've earned to date. And then your best estimate, the treasurer's best estimate of future interest. But we can at least know what a running total is.
good. Yeah, we will add that.
And and it's going to be conservative. But again, I think, I'm fine with 55,000. I bet you I can make an argument where some of these other ones we funded probably are grayer than that parking lot.
Yes.
All right, okay. Any further discussion? All right, it is really important that we discuss these. Member Rutledge.
Unrelated to the Wayne Township, I'm curious, the only other outstanding was Lyle Township, and I'm getting questions from Lyle Township about where they stand and what they need to still provide to you. So if you could address that a little bit.
That's still in discussions with us internally. So we have followed up with them and we just need to, again, have some conversations in-house about that.
Thank you. Thank you, Member Rutledge. So as I was saying, these are very important discussions that we have. It's important that we know all the facts going into, before we make our decision. So it looks like we want to go ahead and move forward with this item as presented today. Correct? Show of hands, everybody? Yep, there we go. So you have your direction to go ahead and move forward.
We'll bring it back. Okay.
Okay.
We'll bring it
Thank you
back.
so much, Mary
Thanks.
Catherine. Appreciate it. Okay.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very
Members of
much.
the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have any old business? Any new business? Okay, I'm advised we do have executive session. So can I have a motion to go into executive session pursuant to the Open Meetings Act 5 ILCS 120/2 collective negotiating